Adrenaline's a big part of what you do. You know, it's time specific. Off we go at a certain time, finish around a certain time. So there's all that kind of excitement and the build up, and then the opposite side of it as well. I mean, that's something you have to master, I guess, in your role, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a lot that goes into it, before you get to that kind of one shining moment. And that's kind of the part of my job that a lot of people don't see, which is hey, we're doing all this work that nobody's thinking about, how we get there, the practices, the equipment, all of those various things that we're doing in preparation for that game. That's really taxing on players, coaches, and essentially the football operations staff. So, that's kind of the insight that I love to provide students, kind of a world that a lot of people don't see, but is really key and vital to making everything go and preparing for these games that, everybody kind of watches each and every day.
Yeah. And I guess as well, because you are dealing with the welfare of lots and lots of human beings, and they're all on time specific deadlines too. There's that level of perfection about your job, exactly as there would be on the field as well. You want to make everybody feel the best that they can be.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's, the part with me and perfection is, you honestly hit the nail on the head. I'm definitely a perfectionist. I really want to learn everybody personally. So I'm looking to see, what are your traits? What are the things that you look for? What do you eat? What are things that I can make sure, that I can have readily available to make your life easier? I tell myself that, if I'm doing my job effectively, only thing that the players and coaches have to worry about is what's happening on the field. I don't want them to worry about, what's happening at the hotel, them getting to the game, any buses or hotel room issues. I just want them to worry on being their best self as soon as they step on that field.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go right into the gaps and learn how you got started in this. But come on, I want to know the craziest thing you've had to provide for a player. This is, by the way, nothing too outlandish, please. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I'm
gonna keep it PG. I'll keep it PG.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I mean, does somebody insist on having bright pink fluffy slippers the night before a game, or are you literally chasing the weirdest stuff at times for the guys?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is, I'll give you a good example. We had one player, I won't say his name. He's no longer with us, but, he was very particular in terms of his diet and how he prepared his body each and every week. So, we kind of had typically, we have a big meal room. Everybody goes and gets food. He would only eat one particular meal each and every day. So it would be like grilled chicken seasoned with Himalayan pink sea salt and asparagus. And that would be it. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it had to be made in one of those new wave ovens. That's like you plug it in, you put it in there for like 10 minutes, and it cooks the chicken and the vegetables. And that was it. So we had to travel with a new wave oven. And then we also, he was also one of those hyperbaric chamber type of guys. So we had like a traveling, chamber that he could go into and do his like rest and recovery. So we learned a lot from him. But, he knew his body, he knew his routine, he knew what he had to do to perform at a good level. And, at requests like that, as outrageous as they may be, and, you're kind of making food separately for him, you just kind of learn like, hey, this is what it takes for him to feel his best and perform his best. We got you. That's what we're here for. That's what we want you to do. So,
but is there a hierarchy to that? I.e., that a youngster breaking through presumably can't make the same level of demands or have a whole separate trailer on the back of the coach, the same as your star player can, presumably.
Yeah, we like to say everybody's treated equal, but that would be a lie. Obviously your star players are, you take care of them. You take care of those guys, who do have some time that they've put into the league. You want to make sure that they're comfortable and that you're always doing your best for them. And then some of the younger guys, the rookies, they kind of earn their way up. The longer that they're in, the more that they produce, you make sure you take care of them as well. But, I kind of have a standard of, you never know when your number is going to get called. So we may have a rookie that, is kind of at the bottom of our depth chart that is starting in a couple weeks because of injuries or whatever may happen. So I want him to understand that, hey, we're still going to take care of you. You may not get the suite, that's overlooking the water with the king bed and the, jacuzzi tub. But, I'm going to do my best to make sure that you're taken care of each and every week.
Oh, you've just outlined that to me. So, of course, we've got the whole egos thing coming into this as well, of probably the best room in a certain hotel. And you know what as well, Brandon, our industry is very repetitive. So I'm guessing you might use the same hotels on an annual basis when you go back. So maybe a long-standing player knows which is the best floor to be on, and the end room's better because it overlooks the lake and all that kind of stuff.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's, a lot of hotels, they know the best hotels in the city, the ones that, we go to on a regular basis, especially places like Carolina and New Orleans and Tampa that are in our division. So, they know what to expect when, they get there. And so anytime you go, they're looking for, that certain room, or, hey, this isn't the same room I got last time. And, you always try to do your best just to make sure, like we said earlier, take care of the ones that, you got to take care of. Because, the ones that are going to ask questions and be more aware than others.
Yeah. But do you have a kind of resource you can commit to this kind of quirky request, and then that's a limit on it, and you have to just turn around and say, no, that's it, the truck is full, or my budget for weirdness has gone for this particular game? Or would you then go to coach and go, I've just had a late request, and what do you want me to do? Is there a lot of liaison there as well?
Yeah, it's really like the more that you're able to develop relationships with these guys, I think the better it is. So they kind of know when, they're asking something that's a little outrageous, or if they're asking a question that's like really late in the week, right when, we're getting close to game day. So, that's the part that I like to take on of, really developing a personal side to it. Because there's some times where they know, like, hey, if the answer is no, the answer is no. And the answer is no a lot of times. But they always know, like, hey, if I can take care of you, I'm going to take care of you. But, sometimes things can get out of our hands if the request is too crazy or too late. So,
Brandon, I've kind of got ahead of ourselves. I just thought I love conversations like this. So I took off with a couple of the money shots. So let's set the scene. First of all, let me say to students, it's a great opportunity. Brandon Ruth is with us, Director of Operations at Atlanta Falcons. Please join me with your questions for the second half of this chat, which will run up to 7 o'clock UK time. So that's going to be 2 o'clock East Coast of the US time. Let me have your questions. Brandon, what prepares you for a role like this? Can we drill down into your career and how you get from, say, where our students are now, just graduating, looking for their first work steps, to having the destiny of a big, burly NFL player's jock strap in your hands in the bag? What's the route? How do you get to where you are now?
Yeah, so honestly, I started off in the events side of the sports industry. So, when I was in college, I went to the University of South Carolina, and, I first did my first few internships in game operations, which was, sitting at the scores table, doing the national anthem, the halftime entertainment, the in-game entertainment, pre-game, fun, and, all the fun stuff that happened in the game. That's where I started. That's where my love was. I enjoyed it. I love connecting with the fans and really creating an environment in the arenas. So that was really cool. I did that with the Falcons. That's where I started. And, luckily, there was an opportunity in football operations. And, my boss, who I worked with many times on training camp here at our team facility and other different events, he liked my work ethic. He kind of liked how I planned and operated and communicated with all the events that I did. And he kind of threw an opportunity to me and said, hey, would you want to come over and work with me doing team operations? And that was always a dream of mine, something I've always wanted to do, be more involved with the players and coaches and it was a no-brainer for me to make the jump. So it was kind of a really easy transition. A lot of the same principles I've learned in doing events at the start of my career translated over to doing operations. So that really made the transition over to this job really smooth for me.
Are you homegrown Atlanta then? This is your area?
Yes. So I was actually born in New Jersey. My whole family's from New Jersey. But I was pretty much raised in Atlanta. So I moved to Atlanta in 1996, right when the Atlanta got the Olympics. So that was my first time in Atlanta. We moved from New Jersey down here. And I remember being a little 6-year-old going through the city during the Olympics and seeing a ton of Olympic events. And I think ever since then, I just kind of knew, sports was always my thing. I loved playing them and just loved the atmosphere of it. So I knew that that's where my desire came from. And, I think it was kind of a blessing. My first year in Atlanta was, the Olympics. And, ever since then, I've always just grown up loving Atlanta sports and especially the Atlanta Falcons.
And a lot of our speakers this week, Brandon, have been talking about the sort of migratory nature of Atlanta. It's a really transitory area, at the epicenter of the railroad roads. I think I'm right in saying it's still the busiest airport hub in the world. So were mum and dad moving into town to work around the Olympics? Was that was that behind the decision to move to the area?
Yeah, so my dad actually worked for Continental Airlines, which is now United Airlines. They did a merger. So my dad got a promotion in his position. He was basically, funny enough, the director of operations.
Wow, I wondered where you got it from.
Yes. So he was director of operations for Continental Airlines. So he did all of the operational stuff. He oversaw the entire Atlanta operation for the airlines. And so that's what moved us down here from New Jersey. And so obviously I think I picked up a lot of stuff from my dad, honestly, with his operational background. And probably a chip off the old block with that one.
Did he bring it home? I mean, if you had a family outing, everything was meticulously organized. Those are your sandwiches, Brandon. Those are your brothers or sisters. We should be leaving at this time. The boot will be packed accordingly, or the trunk, as you call it, will be packed accordingly, etc.
Yeah, no, that was him. He was hey, I'm gonna wake up at 7:00 and hey, we're gonna go to the grocery store. We're going to go to the hardware store. We're going to come back to the house. We're going to do this. Then we're going to go get lunch. And that was our weekend routine. So, every weekend I was waking up with my dad and hopping in the car and we would just be out running errands, doing things. Whole day had a schedule. We knew what we were running. And I think, honestly, in my mind, I operate that same way now. So it's funny looking back at it, which I don't do quite often, but I see where I get a lot of my quirks from. So.
Yeah, that takes a lot for us to admit that we're an embodiment of our fathers, doesn't it? We like to think we're moving on and doing something different, but
yeah. Same too. I just hope I can keep my hair as long as I can. My dad, it's I'm sorry. I know. Listen, I'm hoping I can keep mine as long as I can, and keep it strong. But definitely an embodiment of my parents for sure.
Are you a bit OCD?
No.
Okay.
No. I have my quirks about myself. I think I've calmed down from where I used to. I think probably when I first started off, I think early in my career, I think I was a little OCD. But I've learned within the position that you have to have a little bit more flexibility and roll with the flow that, doesn't really match a typical OCD personality. And I've kind of gotten away from it. And, now, as much planning as I do, I also plan for a ton of contingencies and whatever may happen. So, things don't necessarily always have to be, perfect or in a certain way. But, for the most part, it's I've kind of grown out of my OCD-ness that I started my career with.
Yeah, I worried for a second you might think I was taking the conversation down a sort of counseling route there, and I wasn't. It's just that there is a very fine line between operational order and being on time and on track, and tipping over a bit where it becomes a kind of tiring hindrance in life. So hence my question there. For the benefit of those of us that are not fully au fait with NFL, can you just give us a little flavor of the kind of size of roster, the amount of people that you're having to logistically move about and take into account? Will you just sort of take us into what the sort of key playing staff side is all about in terms of numbers, what everybody's doing, etc., please?
Yes. So, so in terms of just a regular travel party, so the average person is going to think of, okay, yeah, of course, you're traveling your players and your coaches and, you're taking them to a game. It's much more than that. Players and coaches are probably only half of your actual travel party. So an NFL team, players alone, you'll probably travel close to 63 players on a single trip. Most teams are right around 25-ish coaches that will also travel. And then in terms of like the football operations staff, you're going to have your equipment staff, your video staff, your training staff, your operations staff, including myself. And then we also travel our PR team. We travel our digital media team. So, kind of adding in all of those other key players, our travel party for a single trip is about 160 to 170 people.
Wow. That
we're doing hotel reservations for, obviously bus transportation for. How
many buses? Because some of these guys are big guys. So
yes. So in a regular year pre-COVID, we would do probably 5 or 6 buses. Each bus had a roughly 52 to 56 seats. So it was enough to kind of everybody spread out and, not necessarily be cramped in. But obviously during COVID, we had to limit the number on each bus just from social distancing. So we had about 9 buses for a lot of our trips. So that's 9 buses with a police escort, plus trucks for the equipment that we're traveling with as well. So quite a number of people that you have to think about. And that's just the people that are traveling with you on the plane. We're also, also included when our owner does travel as well. We're also involved as that. Obviously, he flies private. He has his own plane, but you make sure that he's good with his police escort and him getting into the stadium for the game day as well.
Wow. So I'm guessing that sort of negotiation and liaison skills are a kind of key fundamental as well as the organizational brain.
Yes, no, definitely. It's, the negotiation side is a huge one, especially when it comes to pricing. The majority of our negotiations happen with hotels. Most people think, room rate is just, the big negotiating piece. It's not really. The biggest thing that we negotiate when we go to hotels is food. How much they're going to charge us for all the food that we're going to eat for all the people that we're traveling with. So we try to control the cost there, which is a big one. But then we also look for a ton of concessions, like what are things we can get for free because we're bringing in so much money to the hotel. So we look for, hey, can we get free Wi-Fi? Can we get free meeting room space? Can we get free coffee? That's one thing that a lot of people don't think. Coffee is like very expensive when you go to hotels and you have big groups. So it's little things like that we always try to negotiate in, that we, always try to see like, hey, that'll actually save us a little bit of money and look better for us from a negotiating standpoint.
When it comes to the roster, does coach tolerate sort of cliques, people that sit nicely together, or does he like a constant rotation so that everybody gets to know everybody and it engenders a team spirit? Is that something that would fall on your plate occasionally?
Yeah, no, luckily not. Our team is so well constructed that everybody is just good with everybody. We could walk into our meal room and, we'll see our quarterback could be sitting with our kicker, or our wide receiver might be sitting with our entire defense and talking with them. There's just so many different connections that guys have just from being in the league so long. A lot of guys have the same agents. A lot of people went to the same college, even if they may play a different position. And a lot of guys, grew up together, whether it's in the same state or played high school against each other. So there's so many connections on NFL teams that, the team is just so connected. And that's always one of the really good things and cool things to see. It's just how everybody knows and interacts with each other.
Yeah. And in terms of the relationships directly you would have with the playing roster, I mean, I guess that's something you've just got to feel your way through and know what the tolerances are of an individual, when their buttons will be pressed, when to back off them, when to give them a bit more of a firm hand. I mean, that's a skill set in itself, Brandon, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And, a lot of it, that I'll say is honestly by observation. I think it's a lot of people try to dive, right into it and, start talking up guys and trying to figure them out. But, if you watch well enough, if you kind of see how they carry themselves and things of that nature, then, you're going to learn a lot about somebody that way. I'm lucky, I'm a little bit of a social butterfly. So, I enjoy talking.
I'd never have guessed, mate. I'd never have guessed.
But I really do enjoy talking to the guys. And, the biggest thing for players and athletes, for anybody who deals with them, always remember they're regular people too. At the end of the day, at the end of the game, they're going home to, their wives, their children, their parents. They have people at home that they're providing for as well. So, it's not always like, hey, such a great game, or, oh, that was an awesome catch that you made. It's, hey, how's your kids doing? Hey, I saw you posted, it was your anniversary yesterday. Congratulations on that. So little things like that go such a long way because they are just regular people, just like you and I.